This is a light leadership series where I get with different leaders in the community, and we talk about different things in regards to health, in regards to being able to take care of your finances, in regards to being able to take care of your lifestyle and take your life to the next level, especially for the youth, because we know that's where the power of change really lies. And today I'm with a man that I am blessed to have called a coach in my lifetime and also a friend now. So talking about this guy, he's done a lot of different things. Over time, he has been a strength coach. He's also coming from a lineage of strength coaching, and he is bringing a wealth of knowledge to you guys today. I'll let him introduce himself.
My name's Kade Cole. I'm at head strength coach at Belton High School in Temple, Texas. Prior to that, I was at Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene for 5 years. That's where I got to meet the K.Sloan. Before that, I was at East Central University in Ada, Oklahoma. We spent a little bit of time at the University of Kentucky with their football program, and then went to undergrad and played and interned at Tarleton State University in Stephenville, Texas.
So appreciate you being on the platform, my good brother. So let's get into it, man. So as you know, like we were talking about earlier, man, a lot of student athletes, they coming into the summertime. Right now we're in the summertime, and they are doing summer workouts where their coaches are trying to get the team ready, but the reality of it is they have to do work on their own.
Absolutely.
Like they have to be doing something to supplement, the workouts that they're getting. And my question for you is like, looking at a student athlete's point of view, what is the most important thing that you think they need to be focusing on? Like let's say it's a ninth grader, right? They go into their sophomore year in high school. And let's say it's football, baseball, that's whatever, summertime. What should they be thinking right now on their own? What should they be trying to focus on?
I think the number one thing that to focus on the summer, it's easiest to do in the summer, is creating great habits. I think what most people, especially when they get too busy during the school year, you got school, you got your school sport, you might have a club sport, you might have choir or band or something else on top of that. You might have a good 10 to 12 hours of your day scheduled away to where you feel like you don't have time to plan what you're going to eat, to make sure that you're getting enough sleep, to make sure that you're structuring your day to put you in an optimal position to perform or even just to be healthy in general. So I had this conversation with an athlete this week where we were talking about nutrition, and he told me that he went and got a personal trainer who told him all the things that I had told him a few months prior to that. And so he did it, and he feels better. He doesn't feel like he's sick anymore. I said, oh, good. I'm glad you did it. Like, of course it is. Like, that's why I told you to do it that way. Because, all the food that you eat is then turned into all of the cells in your body. Yeah. So if it's bad, all the cells in your body are going to be bad. If it's good, all the cells in your body are going to be good. You're laying the foundation for what you're going to be made out of by what you eat. Right. That's why they say you are what you eat. Absolutely. But then also on top of that is, what are your sleep habits? Like oftentimes, especially in the summer, it's easy to stay up way too late, take a nap in the afternoon, jack up your sleep schedule to where school rolls around and you have to sleep and you can't remember how. So making sure that you're creating great habits of like going to bed at a decent time to wake up at a good time. For us, we start at 7 a.m. With our students. So that's not that different when football season rolls around, or volleyball season rolls around. Everyone's going to have to be at the facility by 7, maybe even earlier. So being in the habit of being able to fall asleep at 10 o'clock, get up at 6 o'clock, get that 8-hour window is, while it's not ideal for your social life, it's setting you up to be a more healthy individual. Yes. Because those are the two things, sleep and nutrition, that are going to drive the boat of how you recover, how you perform, whether or not you get sick all the time. Yes. Your body composition, all of that stuff is going to hinge off of those two habits. So that's huge. Really the work is almost secondary to that because otherwise you multiply by 0. Right. Whatever work you're doing, taking it out. Now, a lot of times people say, oh, I need to get extra in. And so they, in their mind, I'm 115 pound freshman going to be a sophomore, trying to make varsity. Right. So I'm going to go to the gym and get some extra work. Well, what you should have done is you should have gone to the Chinese buffet We got a couple extra plates in,
Absolutely.
because that's where your body isn't built to handle another workout. It needs more fuel to build up more mass to be able to then go do more work.
Bro, so going into that, I love that you said that, because now I'm thinking about the 2,000 versus the 3,000 calorie diets and stuff like that, and how they always say caloric deficit, right? That's what they want to work with. And like, can you break that down for people in regards to like how much work you should be doing compared to how much you're eating? Because I think that's where sometimes kids get jacked up. Like for me, when I'm dealing with adults, I'm dealing with trying to help people stay functionally healthy, being able to sustain.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't understand, especially men. Men that say, I'm gonna go get a lot of protein.
Yeah.
So I'm protein. I'm eating all the time. And then you're getting big, you're getting strong, but it's like, bro, you're also getting fat. Like, it's like you're getting both at the same time. You have to know the balance. So like, how can we go about helping people with that balance? Like, can we get like a sample for like a ninth grader? Like, what's like a breakfast, lunch, dinner that's sustainable? You know what I mean? That we could give them to move forward throughout their week.
Absolutely. So you always hear breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, breakfast isn't tied to a certain time of the day. Right. It's whatever meal breaks your fast. So if you're coming off, like, you may not eat till noon, but that first meal is crucial. Making sure that meal is loaded with protein and fat, not sugars, not carbs, which, if you notice, what are most breakfast foods made out of? Grains, a lot of carbs. You look at a cereal box, the only protein you're getting is from the milk.
Yep.
And even then, like, it's not nearly enough. You're getting more carbs than proteins. Right. So you want to think eggs, cheese, sausage, something like that to start your day off. What that's going to do is that's going to help regulate your blood sugar. The whole keto fad that you hear about, a lot of that is just manipulating your blood sugar to keep from having high spikes and low dips. You have what goes up must come down. If you have a high spike, you got to have a crash. Right. It's coming. And so when you're at work, when you're at school, if you've sugared yourself up first thing in the morning, you're going to spike yourself up. You're going to hit 10 o'clock and you'll be ready to go sleep. And then you go eat lunch and you sugar yourself up again, you're going to have a spike. And then you'll hit 2 o'clock and you will be worthless. Right. So being able to manipulate your blood sugar with, a heavy protein. I mean, I love eggs. You can't go wrong with eggs, but you can eat whatever you want. You want to go get a rotisserie chicken at 7 a.m., go get a rotisserie chicken at 7 a.m. Yeah. But, make sure it's protein and fats. That's going to help. You're going to be clear cognitively. It's going to help, repair all the damage that's been done with cortisol levels increasing from, that 4 to 12 hour window of fasting. So, you might have eaten at 7 o'clock and it's 7 o'clock again. You've hit 8 hours of cortisol release. You got to put some protein in your body to get your growth hormone back on track, to help your body repair, rebuild, and prepare for the day. Then after that, you want to try to focus all of your carbohydrate intake around your activity. So if your activities, first thing of the day, then that's when you put some of that in. I love using fruit first. It's just a little bit more organic, easier for your body to break down. And then if you want to put all those grains and whatnot on, put it on after. Don't go in with the heavy stuff. Put that in after. Right. When your body is, depleted from glycogen, needs that back in the muscle, and it's most efficiently going to utilize it.
And then real quick, so like, as far as like what you're eating compared to what you're doing, right? So like, if I'm going to work out in the morning at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., then I probably shouldn't go too heavy. I should probably eat more fruits. Is that what you're saying?
That's
like,
what, yeah. Like bananas money. Banana, maybe some peanut butter, maybe you like to do a protein shake. That's easy. Slide on the stomach. It's going to give you energy to get through. And then the easiest way for me to know how much should I eat after, am I soaking in sweat? Right. Am I dripping? Then I should probably go and throw down. Right. If I'm mostly dry, like, sure, I lifted heavy, but there might be a drip or two of sweat. I'm good. Right. I'm good. Then I probably don't need to go eat. Like, I just went out and laid it all on the line. So that's when, okay, I might just focus on, maybe I'm going to do protein and fat again. Maybe I'm going to prioritize that. For what's something I recommend more for adults that are trying to kind of regulate their body composition is eating that breakfast style, heavy protein, heavy fat for all the way until dinner. Only have one meal where you really carb up. And really, something I love to do is load it up with fruit. I mean, I'm become a grapefruit fiend. But, you know,
like
loading up.
blueberries, that's my thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever made your own whipped cream, it's just heavy cream, whip it up in a blender, and then throw some blueberries on that.
Yeah.
That's just fruits and fats. But
absolutely,
I mean, you can control, you can, you know, find ways to manipulate your blood sugar, which is going to manipulate your body composition easily. But if that protein is going to be more satiating, it's going to make you feel full longer than the carbohydrate will.
Right.
And so if you can say, hey, look, you know I'm going to go to work and be there until 5 o'clock. Well, if you only give yourself the opportunity to eat protein and fat until you get off work, you're only worried about one meal that you're like, you know, really enjoying the food, because you probably don't have the time really to sit down and really enjoy food, whatever it's made out of.
Right.
So that's, you know, that's something that I would, you know, I really recommend, especially if you're in a more sedentary job. If you're blue collar and you're out there swinging a hammer, no, eat whatever you just eat. You're earning it. You're probably, especially in Texas right now, you're soaking in sweat. So
absolutely,
like the shirt test is easy for trying to figure out, you know, how much you should eat. I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think you can eat too much protein personally. I mean, after, you know, sure, if you get over 200 grams, but man, that's a lot.
Right.
Talking about like 3 pounds of meat.
Right. So you're a protein guy. Like you like believe in the so do you believe in whey protein as well? Like to supplement, especially for like our student athletes. Do you believe that they should be taking whey protein to supplement the workouts?
Only out of convenience.
Only out of convenience.
If you can eat meat, eat eggs instead, do it. Like in whey protein, it's so, I mean, you talk about processed and not processed. Whey protein is extremely processed. I mean, it's not the way it comes out of a cow.
Right.
You know, so it's so if, you know, I still take whey protein when it's, hey, I've only got this much time, or I only brought, you know, this much food up with me. But yeah, I mean, whey protein is fine if you can make it work. It's just not going to absorb really well. Eggs are going to absorb, have the amino acid profile to absorb better than any other protein. After that, it's red meat. There's a lot of people out there that are, you know, trying to say red meat causes cancer, this, that, and other. Where unhealthy meat will make you unhealthy. Healthy meat will make you healthy. So, like if you go out and you hunt your own, it's going to be probably as good as it gets. Right. If you, I caught some fish last week that in the ocean. That was probably the best protein I've eaten in months.
Absolutely.
But, you know, you spend a little bit more to get, or have to work a little bit harder to get probably healthier. But it's still, you know, lunch meat's still going to be better than whey protein. Right. It's processed, but it's less processed than whey protein.
And I think that's a big point you hitting on, bro. It's like that. I think student athletes and everybody in general needs to understand the more processed you go, that's down that road you don't want to be on. That's the road of more, you know, that excess body fat and things like that. Things start showing up. And, you know, they also say that when you get to like where you eat more natural, whether you eat from the earth or you eat from animals that eat from the earth, you know what I mean? You get to that point where it's like you are helping yourself with the nutrients. Like you said, that amino acid profile. Yeah. Like you don't get that from those processed entities, bro. It
starts to get broken down. Things start to get removed from them.
Yeah.
I like what you said, things that ate from the earth. Yeah. Somebody asked me like, why don't you eat more vegetables? Well, if my food ain't the vegetables, I'm okay.
Exactly. No, for real. Seriously.
But you know, I'm not a huge vegetables guy. Yeah. There's some really interesting research coming out about different leafy greens having defense mechanisms that can actually fight against, you know, animals or humans eating them. So like, I'm like, I don't, you know, that's just one excuse for me to not have to eat it.
I just think I'm more.
I'll just jump on board with it. Sounds good. I'm more of a fruit guy personally. Fruit doesn't have that for whatever reason. It wants to be eaten, right? Because that's how the seed spreads. So, but no, it's really interesting. Like, the more you can dig into it, the more you can learn. Like Ben Greenfield, I don't know if you've heard of him. Really insightful guy. He just refers to himself as a giant human experiment. Okay, so he's always trying different things just for the heck of it, to see what happens. And then he writes about it and speaks on it. And tells people what he thinks. So he'll just take whatever fad and try it out. See what's going on. Yeah, it's pretty. So I've learned some interesting stuff from him. That's where I first heard about the whole vegetable thing. So apparently. I've always heard nightshade is a poison, and apparently potatoes and tomatoes. I'm a big tomato guy. I like potatoes. Apparently those are nightshades. So I can't eat tomatoes anymore. I'm sorry.
The main thing I've been hearing recently is like, the reason why I'm on blueberries so much is because of they say blueberries and melons are like neurotransmitter creators. Like so cognitively, our cognitive performance goes up the more blueberries and melons you eat. So like, bro, I've been really all the time, like every meal I try to supplement with that just to kind of help myself out because you know, you want to be able to have yourself sharp. Like, you know, as parents, like we got kids that they'll test our mental and you get drained by it. But I feel like you got to find ways to kind of get your mind back. So I always tell people, get them the blueberries, get them the melons. And then my next question is, I guess with this nutrition, is supplements, right? That's a big topic for a lot of individuals because everybody wants a shortcut. Everybody wants to get there the quickest point ASAP. And I know personally, I believe in supplements. Like I do believe that some supplements are beneficial. Like I take a cocktail of supplements, but I try to stay more so multivitamin. I take lion's mane. I take medicinal mushrooms. I take lion's mane. I take ashwagandha root as well. So, you know, I take those just for the medicinal effects. I know what that does, but I don't really go too crazy with anything else. But what would you recommend, I guess, for like our youth? You know, or do you even recommend supplements for you? Like, what is your?
So like you talking about the ashwagandha, the lion's mane. I don't know where you would buy that raw. So like, I think something like that, like the supplement is really your only option. Like I'm unfamiliar with where you would purchase that
in the raw form.
In the raw form. So like stuff like that, like absolutely that you've got to supplement. But you know, I used to think, I'll just do the vitamins and all that. If you look at the way they absorb versus the way the actual food absorbs, you're getting scammed. You're being robbed. I mean, sure, you're going to get some effect from it, but you're not nearly getting the effect of what you would get if you went and got the raw form, and which is cheaper and is going to absorb 3, 4, 5 times better. Just that again, the processing of the thing.
So that's raw vegetables, that's raw fruits, that's raw.
So I mean, if you look at like, okay, vitamin C is going to be huge because it's going to have it's going to stimulate the immune system to help you from a workout. Okay, so go get grapefruit. Don't take a vitamin C, which I used to take the vitamin C all the time. Then you look at like fish oil capsules. You know, I've recently been kind of put onto the whole cod liver oil thing. Supposed to be even more absorbable, even more beneficial than going and taking. I've taken vitamin D for years, and I swear by it. Well, that's so much higher than cod liver oil. Okay, I'm gonna go take that. I'm gonna absorb it better. It's also high in the eggs, so I'll get it from there. So really, I mean, unless it's something kind of like ashwagandha, like where you physically don't know where you would go get it, then I think that's the time to take it. The other thing, I think you should take some kind of fish oil. I think that's really big. Just because, you know, especially being in Texas, there's not a lot of places to go eat some fresh fish, to go get, you know, those things that have huge cognitive benefits. And you know, the vitamin D and all that, so anti-inflammatory effects. So that I recommend that, just because I'm not going to go, you know, most of the frozen fish in the store are going to be more high in omega-6s, which is going to break you down. You want the omega-3s, so that's, you know, where that benefit comes from. Then another thing I would always recommend is creatine. I know creatine's kind of have this weird, you know, with steroids and everything, people, your parents know.
Right.
But there's a lot of research that's been done on prevention of Alzheimer's, prevention of dementia with creatine. It's one of the few compounds that breaks the blood-brain barrier. So it actually helps improve your mental state, but then also helps with muscle fatigue, recovery, muscle growth, which there's a lot of research on. The better you develop motor units, your motor patterns, the better your brain develops. So that's why there's a ton of benefit with exercise and playing sports and developing skills, because strength and speed, that's a skill. Despite, you know, some people think you're just born with it, but no, it can be developed as a skill that's going to actually improve the way your brain works. Because it's all neural.
So the way you move improves the way you think.
Exactly. It's all neural. It's all neural path. Like the more the neural pathways are ingrained, the brain is being activated. And so therefore the better your brain's going to perform. And creatine plays a huge role in that. I think it's got that, some people say, well, it makes you really, really dehydrated. Well, the Army uses it to help people retain water.
Right.
So if it helps you retain water, then it's making you more hydrated. So I'm not sure where the idea of like it makes. I think some people, like, if you were to, I think there's some effects if you don't treat your body well and you just take some creatine, like with anything, if you're not treating your body well, that you're going to be in trouble anyways. But it's just kind of might compound that if you're not treating your body well. But you should be, like, that should be like a top piece. The foundational nutrition should be there, and the supplements are just that. They supplement your already healthy habits.
Absolutely.
But yeah, creatine is one that I really like, and I will probably take it for the rest of my life. Yeah, it's a little suspicious being a white powder, but I mean, but there's a lot of benefits there. I can't have it in liquid form. The other thing I really like, and this is way more advanced, but is the alpha GPC. There's research coming out on it helping with ADHD, with depression, people getting off of their medicine and using this alpha GPC as a replacement, and actually leading to them being able to be more self-sufficient mentally and having to be dependent on
Alpha GPC.
Alpha GPC.
Okay.
I actually tried to get I was at a conference, and this lady handed me a bottle and said, "Oh, awesome, I'll take that." She goes, "Oh, I thought that was vitamin D. I need that back." I was like, "I can't have it." She goes, "No, you can't have that one." Because I think it really does have a beneficial effect. It's starting to make its way into pre-workouts because it does make you feel better. I would not recommend pre-workouts especially if you're in high school.
So you do not recommend pre-workouts?
I do not.
Okay.
Because I think you can easily become dependent on it. Caffeine's a drug. Pre-workouts are like twice as high in caffeine as they were 10 years ago.
Right. So we also saying that we out on caffeine for the student athletes.
We're not all out on caffeine. I mean, there's caffeine in a lot of things. Caffeine in chocolate. I love drinking coffee. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you time it up well, if you can keep from being dependent on high quantities or daily usage, that's really important. Being able to take a fast from caffeine, I think, is huge.
Right.
But no, I do. I mean, I enjoy drinking my coffee in the morning. Right. So I wouldn't say out on caffeine, but 300 milligrams, like, if you're 115 pounds and you go and you get that bang energy from the 7-Eleven, you're putting yourself and you're 15 years old, you're in a weird spot. Like, that's a lot of stress on your body.
Absolutely.
Where, if you're 25 years old and 250 pounds, you can handle that. I mean, that's a lot. It's a totally different story now. But, I think especially if you're in high school, being able to fuel your body, properly rest, you have the ability to do it. So whether or not you choose to do it, you don't need that caffeine to get you through.
And I think that's big too, is the natural solutions. I think the best thing for these student athletes is, like, the more natural answers they find to their issues, the better athletes they'll become because they can sustain it. I think that's when you see those athletes that are like, they seem like they never get tired, they never run out of energy, they always have the mindset that you want as a coach. Like, when you're looking at athletes, you're looking at the different athletes, the one that's always drowsy, the one that's always pulling up. These are the guys that tend to go to, like, caffeine and
the shortcuts.
The shortcuts, the quick, easy answers. But I think the diet and the rest, like you said, is going to be critical in that. So
So one thing I want to add to that is, I think with caffeine, lack of sleep, poor nutrition, especially at that first meal, I think those things lead to anxiety, depression, ADHD. I think those things are often cause problems or exacerbate problems that require then medication, which creates, I think, a more difficult loop to get out of, because you create a dependency on all these things that have caused the problem, and then this thing that you're using to fix the problem. When very easily it could have been fixed with getting more sleep, getting more sleep, getting better nutrition, and not overstimulating your body with caffeine.
Right.
And one thing I'll add to that here's a weird thing that I do. There's the way you breathe, especially at night.
I like where you're going with this.
So I started doing this thing. My daughter's 3, so it was right before she was born. A little over 3 years ago, about 3.5 years ago, I started taping my mouth shut when I sleep. My dad's been a chronic snorer, sleep apnea like crazy. And I was, doing some research on breathing, start just a little bitty piece of tape just to hold the mouth closed. And my sleep, I felt way more rested on, 6-7 hours than I had previously. And, being a bigger person, bigger people are more prone to sleep apnea, which is stopping breathing at night, waking up. So waking up a lot, having disrupted sleep. My dad has spent probably $2,000 on different devices that are supposed to help mouth guard, chin strap, whatever. So he tried the tape, and my mom says first time since they've been married that he didn't snore through the night. Wow. He said he was sleeping well. And I was okay. So I know that I look exactly like my dad. I'm the same build, everything. Okay, I know I'm prone to what he's got, so I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. Well, then the more research I did on it, people figured out that their child had behavior issues, and they would, be acting out, not acting themselves. It's like flip the switch and became a different person, 14 years old.
Right.
The mom was walking by the room, and the kid was snoring. She never heard him snore before. So she had told this guy, he told her about the mouth taping. She tried it, and immediately his behavior went back to the behavior that she trained him in, prior to him acting out. And it was all hinged on the fact that he wasn't sleeping well, so he was chronically agitated.
So the snoring from the apnea left him agitated, so then he acts out in school because
the snoring was the symptom of the apnea that was causing him to have disrupted sleep, leading him to be, agitated and acting out all the time. Which is really interesting. Like, that's an easy fix. That roll of tape costs about 74 cents.
Right. Just to get some better sleep.
Like, you sleep better. And you can use that roll of tape for like 2 months.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. I mean, just amazing.
I hadn't thought about that. I haven't heard of that. That's the first time I've heard anybody try that.
And people don't push it because it doesn't make any money. 3M porous tape is not expensive, and it's not new either. So,
that's something we do a lot here, though, man. We treat a lot of symptoms and not causes, man. We don't really get to the root of things because a lot of times, like if you take care of the really basic, we all know that we need sleep. Like we all know that we need to be eating better, but if we don't do it and we try to, get the quick fix and then we deal with it. We end up having to deal with it. We pay all this money for supplements and
you kick medication down the road,
kick the can down the road, and then eventually you have to answer to that. You have to answer to that. So that's I like that. That's good for the people. I hope y'all listen. That's good. So then boom. Now I want to go into like you being a strength coach and you dealing with so many different athletes, right? You deal with different positions on football. You got linemen, you got linebackers, quarterbacks, receivers. When we're talking about the types of workouts that they're doing and the way that, they move, right? Yeah. How do you feel like if I'm a wide out, I'm a wide receiver, or I'm a, wide outs, DBs do the same things. How is the way that I lift weights, right? And the way that I run, how is that different than the way that linemen maybe are doing their workouts? Like if I have a buddy, why is it different the way we work out? Why is it important that we work out different?
So a lot of that actually has to do, in my opinion, with training age. While yes, I could get really, really specific with you at 15, 16 years old. A lot of times there's going to be basic needs based off of well-established principles of strength, speed, and power, work capacity, that I know need to be addressed for everybody because we have a young training age. So whether you start lifting weights at, unless you start lifting weights at, 5, 6 years old, you probably have a low training age. You probably didn't start lifting until 6th grade, 7th grade, pre-athletics, athletics.
So that training age starts once I start training.
Once you start training. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of times, you come in and I might have this kid that his background, he ran a lot of track growing up. And so he's stronger than my offensive lineman. So my offensive lineman is going to he's got a younger training age because when you run track, you have a great significant neural response that leads to more muscle strength, much hypertrophy, power, speed, all that. Whereas, if you sat on the couch until you started playing sports in 6th, 7th grade, whatever it is, you might have played some Pee Wee, but it wasn't hard. Right. And so, you might not have played at the highest level, but so you will have a different need than that guy that had is already fairly developed.
Mm.
But what we will focus on then is, what is the greatest need, on our team? Okay, we need to increase our strength. So once we get our team strength up, then we focus on our team power. We can work all those things at the same time, but we put our different emphasis on what we feel our biggest need is.
I don't want to cut you, bro. So is that why multi-sport participation is so important, though? Would you say, like coming up, or do you think it's important? Because that training age you're talking about, it's like it could be setting me up. Like if I want to go to the next level, then my training age starting in 9th grade towards I've done nothing is totally different than if I had done a little bit of soccer, I've done a little bit of basketball.
You're exposed to more stimulus. You've been kept active longer because you don't play year-round sports in middle school. You don't play year-round sports. Generally, I mean, you might play, fall and spring league, but you're not training for it year-round.
Right.
So actually, really interesting. I think multi-sport participation can actually save athletes. The reason I said so, strength and conditioning is becoming bigger in high school.
Right.
If you go back and look at some things that different teams have done, different schools have done, programs, whatever, there are a lot of times the kids that are lesser athletes, so they don't get the opportunity to play basketball, baseball, run track, do all their football only. A lot of times I feel that football off season can actually be a detriment to the athlete in developing because there's so much gets programmed in. We're going to do 10 sets of 10, 10 sets of 8, 10 sets of 6, which is so much work for somebody that has a 2-3-year-old training age. And it's it's a load that's designed for a bodybuilder that's been training for 10 plus years.
Yep.
Well, now they're putting up, and even then, a lot of bodybuilders aren't going to do that much. It's something that they heard of or thought of or whatever. And so now these kids are getting gassed up really early. And in the words of a famous strength coach from in Europe, he calls it ruining them twice. So instead of them developing the technique, getting the neural improvement from the technique, and then adding the weight later, they've added the weight without the technique. So they've missed the stimulus of the learning the skill, and then they've already used the stimulus of too much weight. And so they've missed the opportunity for long-term development. Well, if you play multi-sports, sometimes you get moved to a different athletic period, but a lot of times you'll just do something else with this other coach. So you stay in season. And so you're not getting mutilated with a young training age. You're getting time to develop, and always being in season, you have to have an expanded work capacity. You're going to get conditioning in through your games that you're playing. So you're playing a game in football, you might be playing basketball, you might think of play baseball, and then you're only getting off-season training in the summer, and you're not getting off-season for 8 months, and which is probably way too much.
And I want to kind of add to that. Like personally, I remember when I was in high school, I was always active until my senior year. This reminds me of my senior year, and I regret this to this day, bro. Senior year, I didn't do anything after football. Like that was the end, because I knew I was going to college, and I started to like taper off. But I wish I would have continued to play, because I think if I would have done track, or if I did a powerlifting, or I did something, it would have increased that playing capacity. You talking about the work capacity? Just playing, I think we forget how much we love just moving around as people. Like naturally, we need to move around. Like, and when you don't do other sports, sometimes you take away that competitive edge, that going and catching the ball, that going and making a quick cut, being able to just like move your body in different ways that you're not used to doing in your primary sport. Like your primary sport does not require you to make so many movements. It's really like 4 or 5 movements you consistently do over and over and over. So then when you just kind of stay in that sport, I think it makes other muscles weaker. And you can tell the difference. I always talk about this with coaches. You can tell the kid that plays one sport all the time versus a kid that's like doing 6 or 7 sports, because you see the way their body moves, plays they're able to make that like in space, or just those like quick, like you just like, whoa, like I'm not used to seeing that. It's almost like that fresh breath of air.
More reactive. I think there's also a benefit to taking time off from one thing to do another thing. I think there's a lot of benefit to that, and sometimes it can be really hard based on numbers, based on what you have available to you, how you can, you can't really train optimally if you have too many athletes or you don't have enough equipment or you don't have, an indoor facility or whatever it is to be able to get kind of the ideal off-season training, to where, if you spend a lot of time kind of in a middle ground where you're not getting to compete or, be truly reactionary, athletic like you would be if you were playing basketball games or if you were playing, doing other things. Like, I love spike ball. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I remember to see y'all play spike ball.
I think off season should have like something like spike ball or even foursquare in it, because it actually creates, you have to be able to move in space, have a little creativity with the way that you move and some control through ranges of motion that you may not be hitting in the off season.
Right.
So it makes you a little bit more well-rounded. And you're talking about not playing sports after football your senior year. A lot of times athletes get moved out of the athletic period.
Yep. That's what
I actually had a conversation with a guy that we have that's going to play D1 ball.
Yep.
He's going into his senior year. I asked him if he's going to play basketball, and I recommended that he did based on the fact that we would get to keep him in the weight room.
Right.
I've already been to the school that he's going to.
Right.
I know what they do.
Right.
And it's, a lot of it's similar to what we do. And so like the more he can be in that team setting, being held accountable to do the work that he's going to have to be able to perform when he gets there, gives him less opportunity to miss before he gets to really the big time, the big bucks.
Yeah, the environment is important.
When he's however you want to look at it, like it's a job. It becomes a job.
It's a business.
You're being paid more now than you ever have been to play college athletics.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's really, really important to have a plan set up where you're still going to be training hard, because you're not done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's where a lot of times people start to lose their love for the game, is they kind of get into a lull. Bad habits are created and it's hard to get out of.
Right. You've been doing this for so long. You have to understand that we need that routine. Like, we need to continually be doing what we've been doing, or do something different that's active, be moving around. Because like you just said a minute ago, the building of muscle, it actually helps you cognitively. Like, going and working out is going to make you feel better about yourself, about what you're doing, about your purpose, about your passion.
Don't lose the routine that got you to where you got. Like,
exactly.
When, if it's working, don't change.
Yeah.
Like, do the thing that's working to help make you better.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of times what we lose track of is, we get all excited about, something working, that we want to go do something else.
Right.
We get bored with the stuff that worked.
Yeah.
And so
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And it's hard to do. It's not human nature to want to continue to do the same thing, especially when things are going well.
Yeah.
But it's a really hard discipline to embrace.
It is, but it's worth it though. I think to stay in that pocket is worth it, because then you'll see the benefits, and then you're talking about student athletes getting paid more. You got NIL and stuff like that going on now. So it's now such a business that these guys and girls are literally almost professionals once they step out of high school, depending on where they go to school at, what they've been exposed to, things like that.
If you look at Hall of Fame athletes, you're going to find incredible work ethics, people that they find the stuff that works and they stick with it.
Yeah.
And they have 10, 15, 20-year careers.
Yeah.
The people that have 2 and 3 year careers probably bounce around and try a bunch of different trainings, but the people that were, shine real bright for a year or two and then disappeared out of nowhere,
right,
probably tried to get too cute with what they were doing,
right,
and then they lost their edge.
So then, boom. So then we transition from there, because I think we took care of the athletes. Let's talk a little bit just about, maybe the parents of these athletes. Right?
Okay.
You got people that are trying to be able to, maybe I just want to lose a little bit of weight. I got 15 extra pounds right now. Mm-hmm. It's June. I want to get down to 200. If I'm a young man, or a man, or if I'm a woman, I want to get down to like 130 or something like that. How do we build a little bit of muscle and burn fat at the same time, in your opinion? Because I got my opinions on this, but I kind of want to know, you being around, you're having the wealth of knowledge that you have. What do you think is like the best ways that we can build fat, burn muscle for the everyday folks, man? Everybody's just trying to live life like we are right now. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of it is going to come from manipulating hormonal responses. with that, you got to kind of be careful about like, what are you taking that's changing your hormonal responses? But so we talked about kind of being able to control your blood sugar, which is going to change your hormonal response. You look at intermittent fasting, if you get into fasting, once you pass that 12, 14 hour barrier, I think 12-hour barrier, you start to hit different ketosis. Now some people don't do well with extended ketosis.
Now break down that ketosis because everybody don't know those terms.
Okay. Oh shoot, man, that's we're gonna spot there. So, but that's your body's releasing ketones to use fat primarily as its energy source.
There you go.
It's supposed to have a lot of cognitive benefits. I tried the whole keto, and I might have done it completely wrong. I tried the whole keto diet thing, and within weeks I had massive headaches. So I'm not gonna do that. I found keto cycling, where it's essentially keto, and I'm not real strict on it right now because I do still train hard. But where it's I'm trying to control my blood sugar during the day, and I go to dinner and I can enjoy it. Enjoy my food. I can get my carbs, I can get my sugars, all that good stuff. But by having that goal during the day, it makes it a lot easier. For those that have never been to a public school, there are donuts everywhere,
all over the place. I've
never seen so many donuts. I've never eaten so many donuts.
It's like religion here.
In the last 2 years,
you gotta eat donuts.
It went shitless. When it's fresh,
bro, it's great.
It's really good. So, like when I have that goal, I'm not gonna touch it. Then, because I know what I'm trying to do. I've got a timer going on my phone. Like, hey, you got to make it to 16 hours,
right?
And it makes it really easy to, it's a little bit competitive. But you got to create habits. It can't be a diet. It can't be a quick fix. It's got to be, you want to change your habits to better your life. My mom got a new doctor because she wanted somebody that was going to prioritize diet over medicine. So he recommended different things for her. It leads to fasting, cold exposure, things like that lead to increased mitochondria. The bigger and stronger mitochondria are, the better your organs work, the better your muscles work, the slower you age. And the creatine supplementation also increases the robustness of your mitochondria. So being able, that's something that you can manipulate. You want to prioritize manipulate. That's going to be power training. It's why I still sprint fast. It's why I still lift heavy. I go hard for 3 to 7 seconds and then rest 2-3 minutes.
Right.
Get a full rest. Like if you go in, you can go in and do circuits, but that's not going to increase your mitochondria. That's going to lead to you're going to become a little bit more acidic. You can do some of that, but your primary training you want to be is 2 to 3 days a week is going to be focused on building that mitochondria, being a stronger person. Because if you're continually getting stronger, more powerful, that's increasing the mitochondria, which is actually going to lead to a lot of improved functions in your body, especially your brain. You can still do some circuit stuff the other 2-3 days. Make sure you take some time to rest. The other 2 or 3 days where you're increasing your work capacity, you might be lower intensity and you're trying to increase your ability to do work because you might love to go hiking. So you want to be able to do a lot of work because you want to be able to pull off a 12-mile hike.
Exactly.
Something like that. You might like to go run long distances, but still training some strength and power is really going to be beneficial as we age. I think, I never seen a sprinter who looked hunched over and beat up when they're old. Like they look great in their 60s. Like, they look like they can still go.
Right.
And those are people that have focused primarily on, training styles that feed their mitochondria and create them to be, as robust as possible.
Right. And I think I'm gonna cut your wings, bro. But I think also the rotational movements as well, I found that to be beneficial as well, just to be able to kind of movement for everyday life.
Absolutely.
Saying, going hiking, playing with your kids, like going out there trying to show them you still got it a little bit, stuff like that.
Full range, multi-planar training. So if you're gonna squat as low as you can possibly go. Not how low you feel comfortable going until it doesn't go, until the hinges are closed. Your hamstrings are on your calves, and if you go lower, you have to take your feet off the ground.
Right.
If you're going to rotate full rotation. That's something I prioritize. I think that's huge for joint health is being able to keep those joints strong through an entire range of motion.
Yeah.
Because if you do if you spend all your time doing, most of the squats you're going to see at the gym, partial range of motion, if you ever get below that, you're not prepared and something snaps.
Right. And I think that's the big shift as a former athlete to the transition into everyday lifestyle. And you got a lot of former athletes that were focused so much on big weight, loads that were way too much for them, inappropriate loads in reality for your range of motion. Like
That might come from a poor off-season program in high school.
Exactly. Or wherever you play.
Wherever, yeah.
You could have bad coaching. But anyway, when you're there and you're thinking like, oh, I gotta have this much on the bar, for my ego.
Yes.
But then it's like, take the weight off and get that on so you can help yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that, a lot of people need to understand. It's your path. This is your process. Like if you got to break it all the way back down to get that joint health you're talking about back, then do what you need to do. And really understand it's a lifestyle. Like this is going to be something that you have to sustain. Like you can't just go in here, every 2 months and then take 2 months off and then just make it something where it's comfortable for you. Maybe incorporate stretching into your routine. You can have you go in the weight room. Like me, I'll go in the weight room for an hour and I'll spend 20 minutes stretching, rolling around the foam roller, just feeling my body, let it talk to me, finding out what's going on with it.
Yes, being aware of your limitations and is really important. You talk about you spend 20 minutes out of your hour getting ready. I mean, that's the whole. If you got 5 hours to chop down a tree, spend 4 sharpening the axe.
Yeah.
You don't need to sit there and exert all your energy for 5 hours if you can just sharpen your axe, and then it takes you an hour. It's a smarter, not harder approach. And I think that's a lot of it is putting your pride aside and doing what you have to do versus what you want to do. Being honest with yourself, that's where a trainer can be really, really important. I think a lot of times what people run into is sometimes they'll get a trainer that makes them feel good versus someone that's going to be honest with them.
That's crazy. That's so true.
But you think about that. Why do people, go to a different therapist or go to a different school? Because they don't necessarily want somebody that's going to be honest with them. They want somebody that's going to make them feel good.
That's why people even pick the media they check out, and that's why people eat the food they eat. We all on feelings. I mean, a lot of our culture is driven by the emotions, right? But it's like the truth is really what's going to be sustainable. Like you can only sustain on the truth. But Coach Cole, you done brought some heat, bro. You done brought some heat. And it's a Light Leadership Series, and we out. That's screen.